Oh, hey friend, I didn't see you down there. Just so you know, feeling low is normal, and looking down on things is not a reflection on who you are. Let me show you how to pull yourself up with your spiritual guides around you. Come on, I got you. Remember in my last episode of this Fearless Over 40 series, where I was telling you about my spiritual journey? If not, I'll leave a link in the description. Anyway, this week was kind of hard for me. It was pretty tough because there I was sitting at my desk, wondering what to draw next. And I must admit I was going through some overwhelm, especially with the time and everything that comes with walking your path and knowing your purpose in life, especially us over 40s. I know, I've just started this content creation journey. And don't get me wrong, I'm loving the process. It's just that I've realized that there are times when I get a sense of, wow, I'm putting a lot of effort into this. Can you relate to the overwhelm? Well, good, I'm not alone then. Talking of being alone, what didn't leave me alone was my constant reminder from my spiritual guides. I've been seeing double numbers everywhere. I kid you not. Every time I look at the clock on my computer or check my phone, it's 11:11 or 8:08. You get the picture. Even when I wake up, it's 4:04 in the morning. I didn't pay much attention to it before. Not really. But recently I noticed that whenever I go through the overwhelm that we were talking about, I see double numbers and I know that it's confirmation that I should stay on my path in the face of adversity. Now, I don't know if you believe in that kind of thing or not, but it seems that when you align with being really spiritual, you'll go through intense times of feeling discomfort and you will be tested. Yes, we can all do without the troubled times. However, I, like you, have been through things where it makes me wonder, where do I find the strength from? It's the double numbers and the signs that say pay attention, stay on track, because us guides have got your back. Well, help me reach it then. Useless. Today, I'm drawing a character that reminds us that we're constantly being shown signs from our spiritual guides. Remember those old Western movies where a group of strangers would come into town and it was always up to the sheriff to run those strangers out of town and remind the people, don't worry, you're protected from scoundrels like them. Let's draw our own sheriff as a reminder that our protector has given us the sign that we can continue along our path for a spiritual and creative comeback. Shall we? We shall. Recently I was walking down the road and I saw an old friend that I hadn't spoken to in years. We stood in the middle of the street and it was great to see this old friend, but for the life of me, I couldn't remember why we stopped talking to each other. I mean, that does happen, right? Life gets so busy and of course friends fall off your radar. But something was bothering me about this particular old friend because I was sure that we stopped talking for reasons that wasn't good. Anyway, we started talking about old times and who we still connect with in our old circle, saying things like, have you seen so-and-so? And did you hear about so-and-so? That sort of thing. Then he asked me what happened between us. He surprised me when he said that he heard I started doing this YouTube thing. I said, oh, how did you know I was doing that? He said he Googled me. He continued and said, so why didn't you say anything to anyone, man? You should have reached out. I didn't respond, but I had my reasons. Again, something was bothering me about why we stopped talking, and he continued telling me about his job and how much he hated it, etc. He started asking me so many questions about my life and wasn't giving up much information about his. I didn't respond much because I've been down that path before, divulging too much information about what I'm doing to those who use that information against me. I'm telling you, man, lessons learned. Anyway, I thought that he was just being inquisitive, and so I didn't think much about this questioning. After about 5 minutes or so, he said, look man, I gotta go, but give me your number and let's catch up, yeah? I said, fine, and he left and waved goodbye. It was around Wednesday of that same week, and this friend called me to meet for a coffee at the weekend, around 11 a.m. I said, okay, fine. And so that Saturday morning, I was busy as usual, but I managed to clear space in that morning to meet him. Then the strangest things started happening. As I was getting ready to leave the house, I couldn't find my phone. I couldn't find it anywhere, especially where I last placed it. I looked everywhere, even the fridge. Yes, I have found my phone in there before. Don't judge. And then I found it under the sofa. But what in the world is it doing there? Anyway, so I found my phone, and then I couldn't find my keys. They were nowhere to be found, and it was driving me crazy. I always leave my keys where I can find them, but for some reason, I just couldn't locate them. And then I found them. No, not in the fridge. But as I shut the door to leave and meet my friend, I had a rip in my jeans, and it was so bad and so noticeable that I felt bad about wearing them. So I went back inside the house to change. As I changed my clothes, I noticed that, oh my gosh, there was water coming from my washing machine. And I was so furious that I turned my head to the sky and said, "Why is this happening?" Of course, I couldn't leave, and I had to investigate where this water leak was coming from. By now, it was already 10:50 a.m. I couldn't possibly meet my friend, and so I called him to say that I couldn't make it. And I told him what happened, and he said, "Okay, I understand. Maybe another time." A couple of days passed, and I got a call from another friend saying that he had heard from the guy I was supposed to meet for a coffee. He went on to say, while this friend, in inverted commas, was talking to him, he mentioned that he saw me in the street and talked to me. Apparently, he was speaking in such a negative tone about me, how I started doing these YouTube videos, and that he knew that I wouldn't amount to much jumping from job to job. Basically, speaking about me in a very dismissive tone. You want to know what I realized about that morning when I couldn't find my phone and lost my keys and there was a water leak from my washing machine? That's right, you guessed it. My spirit guides intervened because they didn't want me to go. That's why those things were happening. Remember when I told you at the beginning of this episode that your spirit guides have got your back? You must first pay attention to the signs, because those spirit guides, they've got your best interest at heart, and any outsiders, they'll be run out of town by those spirit guides. Isn't that right, monkey? Yeah. I breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that I finally acknowledged what was happening. Seeing this friend wasn't the issue. However, know this: when we ask for protection, we'd better be aligned with who and what's about to be revealed to us. People, places, and events will be added or removed for our own development and for us to evolve. The other friend that called me on the phone said friend number one rang him to say how he was supposed to meet me, but I made excuses not to meet. Can you believe that? I wasn't surprised. Can you see why you shouldn't announce what you're doing? Because the best success is planned in the silence. I felt at peace when I said to myself, this is the reason that I didn't say anything to anyone about starting my purpose. You want to know something? I wasn't always this guarded about life. I knew that getting burnt by so-called friends back in the day was of my own doing because I wasn't selective enough. It's that simple. I wish someone had told me this stuff when I was just over 40. But now that I'm just over 50, I've learned to keep my circle small, older and wiser, right? Signs are everywhere. Even the event of me losing the sight in my left eye, that was a sign. It hurt, but it was a sign to be laser focused about what I want and my purpose in life. Now, I'm not suggesting that you distrust your friends, but when you walk a different path to others, roads close behind you and new roads open. The same is true of that job you didn't get, or that relationship that just didn't work out, or that opportunity that never happened. None of these things happened to you. They happened for you. You know this, right? I think our character is done. The sheriff of creativity. Standing there, protecting the town called Talentville. If anyone or anything comes into town to sway you off your path, telling us that we shouldn't dream so big and to do something else, our sheriff guide here will run them out of town. Don't worry. This episode is in a long series that supports and protects your creativity, just like your guides. So consider subscribing so you don't miss out on the very next video, just like this one. And remember this, the sheriff in you is just your guides telling you that you're doing the right thing. And if this episode feels like the right thing to do to overcome your creative struggles, then let's take this inspiration into a conversation so you can have more time to align with a life that you designed. The link is in the description below. But before you go, can I suggest you watch this video next? It's about the story guardian. Whose story needs guarding? Your story needs guarding. So you can continue being fearless over 40. See you next time. More to come, and pay attention to the signs.